So I'm just going into my iPad now to show you an example of the way that I set out my notes. So as you can see here, I have an example of the topic healthcare and ethics. The app that I use is GoodNotes 5 on the iPad Pro, and these are generally just my summary notes, so they don't contain that much information, but they do provide enough of a framework for me to go off that gives me a general guideline for all my lectures. You might also notice that for each different subject that I have a different color for that subject. So color coordination really helps me to memorize the content better and not get it mixed up between my 3 subjects. So first thing I do is I use the split screen and put my OneNote notes that are typed up on my laptop on the left side of the screen, as you can see here. And on the right side of the screen is where I use GoodNotes for my handwritten summary notes. First thing I do is change it to the brush pen, as you can see here. Usually I select the second thickness and I use that to write the main title of every lecture. A feature of using the brush pen on GoodNotes is that it's pressure sensitive, so when you press harder the stroke will be thicker, and when you press more lightly you'll get a thinner stroke. I usually also do a little subtitle at the bottom here that tells me which module or which week of the lecture that I'm up to. I also take a brush pen in black to write any subheadings, so these will stand out to me. And then I also highlight them with a different shade of purple. So for example, this subject, all my notes will be based on the color purple, but I'll have different shades to tell me what the subtitles are, what the headings are, and what the general notes are. As for the rest of my notes, the bulk of the content will be written in the 0.35mm black ballpoint pen, and I usually use the magnifying feature because it helps me by making it a little bigger so you have a nicer writing space and you can see what you're writing more clearly as well. Here's another feature called the lasso tool, where you can select different areas and different sections and you can basically move them around wherever you want. And this is one of my favorite things about the app because you can make the layout as nice as you like. So here another great feature is the auto shapes, which you can use to organize your notes by drawing around any shapes and boxes to highlight particular ideas, or they're very good for comparison points as well. I also use a highlighter in a lighter shade usually to highlight the key points, just as so. And that's basically the gist of what I do for the rest of my notes. It's actually really satisfying writing on the iPad because there's very less friction, but there is a lot of talk about the Paperlike screen protector. If you guys have tried it, let me know if you like it or not. And if you have any opinions on it, I'd also love to hear that. A suggestion that I have here is that you can split your page into 2 columns, especially for topics where you're comparing between 2 things or 2 different topics are very similar, but you want to see the similarities and differences between them. I'm also quite a visual learner, so I try to use as many visual features as I can. For example, little stems or little arrows coming off, as you can see here, stemming off these dot points, which I use ticks for. So the last part of the notes will be incorporating any images from my lectures into my handwritten summary notes. To do this, I usually just take a screenshot from my OneNote app, and then you can crop the picture and resize it to however you like inside your notes. I usually then annotate it and write little subsections or little dot points above it into the appropriate sections, and usually I draw arrows that stem off these relating to the different columns in each table. So that's about all I do and how I make my notes, and I'll see you next time.